Look at you. You're back to join Tom and BT for another edition of the Mortgages and BS podcast here on the Alive and Social Network. We're so glad to have you in the room with us.
You talking about me?
I was talking to our fair podcast listener that's sort of on the ethereal other side of these microphones. But yes, yeah, good to see you too,
Well,
Tom
thanks,
Smith.
BT. I mean, I appreciate it.
Good to see you as always.
We're closing in on 1,000 listeners.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of folks like the mortgages information, like the realtor information, like the home ownership information. But you know what I like to think, Tom?
They like the BS information.
They like the BS, Tommy boy. Oh, my phone! I forgot to put it on. Ooh, somebody's sending me something special.
You have it on vibrate in your pocket again, don't you?
No, it was just a landlord friend of mine. I mean, he's got rental properties, and we were just talking a little bit today, and I was checking up on him. And how's your day going? And 2 toilets in one day. So he's in, and that's an important component when you're renting something out. It's you got the water coming in, and you need the water going out. Probably, maybe more so the water going out.
Well, no, and it is. I mean, when you're going to have investment property, which a lot of people invest in, I mean, you've got to realize that there's things like that are going to happen.
That will happen all the time.
And if you're not a do-it-yourselfer like me, you're going to have to hire these guys that work for you to take care of it. But it is part of the pain that goes with it, but it's still a great investment for somebody.
Indeed, and so he's got 2 toilets to do today. And anyhow, I didn't have my phone on the vibrate mode, and that's what that little sound was. If you heard it, I don't know if you did, but he sent me a picture of the dos toilets. Dos baños.
Are they overflowing?
Apparently, there was some water as a part of this storyline earlier that has been quelled, and now new toilets are going in. So
they
I
can't
hope
flush glassware down the toilet. It's that simple. It's going to clog it at some point.
Don't put a shirt down there. You know better than that. And your teddy bear, please. We've told you once. Well, I don't know. I've had a few that I've wanted. Oh, we shouldn't talk like that in the midst of Cecil the Lion. I don't think we should have any sort of herding cat narratives in the midst of Cecil the Lion.
I've been trying to follow that as much as I can, although it's a little over-inundating because there's so much of it going on in the news. Here's a guy. He's a hunter. He goes out there, hires these guys to go hunting.
Right.
And they let him shoot a lion that is famous.
It's like Smokey the Bear famous.
And they bait him off the area is what I'm being told.
Yep.
Or what I've read. So the guy shot him. He didn't know that this was a protected thing because he's with these guys that are teaching it. So I'm a little confused in there.
I'm going to say he allegedly didn't know that. I'm going to put the allegedly in there. And you know why I wouldn't do this if it was any other storyline? Cecil could be the world-famous Cecil the Lion from Zimbabwe. But if this guy didn't already have a history of doing the same thing with a bear in Wisconsin in a hunting incident.
I didn't see that.
In 2009, he had to step in front of the judge and was convicted of taking a bear in a place where he wasn't supposed to take that bear and then trying to register it in a place where it would have been okay. And for whatever, these DNR rangers and such, they're pretty sharp people.
Oh, no, they are.
And they know what's going on. And I'm not saying that they've got like chips in the bears, like dogs that you lose, with the microchip.
Right.
I don't know, but they know. They probably get to recognize some of these animals and where they live, because they're seeing them. For whatever reason, they knew this wasn't true. And he eventually apparently fessed up to it and was fined a bunch of money and then was given a 1-year probation. So what I'm saying is he's done this already. He has demonstrated just on his own that he's taken animals from where they weren't supposed to be and tried to make it copacetic in a different way, in a different stretch of land. And so that's why I'm saying allegedly he didn't know these guides in Africa were doing this, and I don't know. I don't buy it.
And that part of it makes sense, but it's a famous lion. So what was everybody thinking here? That's the part that got me. And what was really weird was I saw the pictures of the lion. I was like, I'm older. My first thought was Clarence the Lion, Daktari.
Sure enough, Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion.
Exactly.
Daktari.
But seriously, I've been listening to some of the stuff they're talking. The guys are going to they're out on $1 million bail.
Oh, yeah.
They're talking extradition on the dentist. The dentist is just getting obliterated in the news and in the public. I mean, if he really did this and was well aware of what he was doing, he deserves it. On top of that, the fact that there was a lion that was famous, that makes it worse. The question is, did he know the lion was famous?
Yeah. Right. Well, I guess we'll find that out maybe in the long run here. I think another part that's complicating this narrative, this sad story, is that the after of what happened. So he's a bow hunter, apparently an expert bow hunter. From what he said about himself, or others have said, I can shoot a grapefruit at 100 yards. Okay.
That's the part that got me. He did this with a bow.
Right. He did it with a bow. However, apparently his shooting wasn't as accurate or perhaps as precise as it needed to be, because Cecil, the beloved lion, was then tracked down for 40 hours after the initial shot, and then was later taken by gunfire, and then was immediately beheaded and skinned. And I think there's that part of it that really has people, sort of taking the whole big game hunting thing and going, really? Now the barbarism kind of part of it kicks in? I mean, it does seem barbaric, doesn't it?
It does. And like I say, I mean, I haven't followed the whole thing. I mean, I'm honest on that. I mean, I followed the main stuff. I'm busy doing loans and training a little puppy. But when now you're adding that into me, I'm all for fair treatment to animals. I'm not like a PETA type person. But that's just not. I mean, that just sounds a little weird to me. It's almost like now we're covering our tracks.
Yeah, indeed. Try to backpedal a little bit. I know some big game hunters. I know some friends I have friends that are members of Safari Club International, and they're just beside themselves. I mean, the kind of narrative that happens with these hunts usually is that you pay a lot of money, and you go and find this big game, and what you're actually doing on these hunts is, on the real legitimate ones, is you're there to cull the herd, because to manage these populations, certain animals, like we do with the deer population in Minnesota, any number of things, the herd needs to be managed for the health of the whole herd. And so to keep some of these, frankly, beautiful creatures on the planet,
keep them going,
they're going to be managed, and by that I mean some of them are going to be culled from the herd, whether a hunter does it or not. And so what they do in these better safari trips, the legitimate ones, is that's what you're doing. You're culling the herd, and then the monies make their way in a legitimate way to these conservation efforts.
Right, so back to the conservation efforts to help those animals.
Now, in the lesser solid safari adventures, I think we're seeing one of them here. Now I'm curious about where's that $50,000, $55,000 he spent going to, because corruption and kickbacks are no secret in the world of African nations. I mean, that's kind of how it runs. And then also, you've got these guides who are pressured to send somebody home with their trophy. You spend $55,000, you're going to go out in the brush for a week or whatever it is, and then you're going to go home empty-handed. So
that was the other part. They say normally this is like a $100,000 hunt.
Right.
So he did.
Anyhow, there's so many weird layers to this story, and the big issue, of course, the biggest is whether you believe in this or not, or hunting in general or not. We're not getting into that, but for me, from a hunting perspective, if I'm going to go out and hunt, and I do, I eat what I shoot, all right, or I eat what I bring in on a hook. I like to fish too, so you got to take that into account.
And I've got a good friend of mine who lives
sport killing doesn't seem to work.
Good friend of mine lives in Montana, and if he kills something, he's not killing for the treasure of the hunt. He's killing actually for the meat
and the respect of the real, true respect of the animal.
And elk, lion, elk, bear, stuff like that. He's big on fishing, trout, things like that. And other guys like in the area too. Let's say it, deer hunting, bear's been big now in our area. And the people that do it, they're not going for the treasure. They're actually going for the meat. They want the venison steaks.
Yes,
they want the venison jerky and stuff like that. I'm not a venison guy myself, so I kind of don't get into it. I don't mind elk, though, but I don't go out hunting. And it's not because I don't want to hunt. It's just I've never got into it.
Right.
Right. Those guys that do, they enjoy it. They have fun, but it's not for the treasure. They're doing it for
the sport of the kill.
Yeah,
right. And of course, that's what's upsetting people. When it comes to this megafauna like Cecil the lion or elephants or giraffes or whatever the case may be.
Well, it's the same way I fish. I like to fish, but I don't like to clean fish.
There you go.
So everything goes back in the water.
Yeah.
It's a little easier that way. So like when my daughter or somebody gets one, it's just not right, and we've got to throw them back, and I feel bad about it. It's like, dang it, now I should catch 4 more so I can clean them. But I'm just doing it for the fun, just for something to do.
It's catch and release, Smith.
Catch and release, exactly. Best way to stay out of trouble and not have too many fish in your boat.
Indeed. You're never going to have too many fish in your boat if you do catch and release. On to happier thoughts. Or are they? because Halloween costumes and candy are already in the stores. What's going on here?
I'm telling you, at first I thought to myself, this is ridiculous. But then I thought, well, it gets the kids going on it. Of course, the kids might buy a costume, and then maybe in another month they want a different costume.
Oh, I see.
And then you
I
buy
see
the
where you're coming
candy.
from.
You buy the candy, and if you're somebody like me, you buy all those Snickers bars or whatever.
All the mini ones, because there are fewer calories in all the
Yeah,
mini ones.
and you
of
see them
course.
sitting in the kitchen or wherever, and you grab a couple. Next thing you know, you're empty.
This is retail brilliance. Is
They're-
actually what's going on
As
here.
annoying as it is, I think they're onto something.
They're into retail strategy.
You know what's coming out next month?
what?
Santa Claus. Well, Santa Claus chocolates. I can just see it coming. But it is
And they'll disappear by November.
and it is annoying. Every year they come out earlier with something. But I mean, I think from a marketing standpoint, I think that's kind of how they're thinking.
I think you're right.
But it's annoying.
It is.
I mean, I'm not ready to put a pumpkin out or anything like that. Oh, well.
Well, what new thing is going to happen in pop culture that will fuel the costumes between now and then? Maybe they'll have to go into emergency factory mode on some of those, because who knows what kind of strange personality or whatever is gonna come out. You know what bugs me about the costumes for the kids as much as anything is anything that has sexy in front of it. To see a kid, okay, for a young girl or boy, because you got the sexy narrative, like with Magic Mike, XXL. There's a sexy boy narrative going on in movies more so than ever before, too. So I'm going to put it up on an equal plane for my argument here. Anything that has sexy blank, or and then you fill in the blank with what the character is: sexy nurse, sexy
Ghost,
sexy this, and they have them for kids. They've got the slutty boy and the slutty girl costumes for kids, and it just hurts my heart. And what kind of parent would do that?
Well, and
Maybe
I'm sorry, I'm chuckling for a minute.
Maybe a slutty dad or mom.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
well, they look great.
My wife and I will
They're
go out.
Fantastic.
My wife and I
Put
will
some
go
more rouge on, honey.
Stop it, BT.
You need some more eyeliner. I'm sorry.
My wife and I will go look for a Halloween costume, right? And they never have anything in my size, first of all, because I'm not a petite guy, but I'm not a huge guy.
Exactly, no.
But I'm 6'4", so right away
You're
it's hard
a
to
big
find.
guy. You're a big guy.
It's hard to find a costume.
You're big bone, Tom.
And then everything is like, and then for the women, my wife is like, okay, I'm 51 years old. I don't want to be the slutty barmaid.
Right.
Everything has gotten like that. And I know that my daughters even, that's the thing. I mean, my daughters are older, God bless their heart, and they're smart, but every costume has to do with slutty. The slutty, what was it my daughter went as? She went as one of the turtles one year, like Leonardo or something like that. But
So
she was slutty.
A slutty Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I'm like, what is the deal?
We're in the same...
How do you go as a
in the same
slutty
place
Barney?
here.
I mean,
I'll screw you, you'll screw me.
oh, and then my daughter had the backpack for the turtle, and it was all filled with liquor.
Well, okay.
She is over 21, by the way. But,
no worries there. That I'm okay with.
but the kids,
the
I mean,
slutty,
you're right.
the
The
slutty.
kids, but I always like it when you get to go to the door, and you still get some of those traditional kids coming as a monster or a Ninja Turtle or a ghost or a witch. But you watch them as they get a little older, you start to see the costumes get a little more risque. And it's like, why? Why? You got plenty of time to let your hormones run. When you're 13 years old, you don't need your hormones running. When you're 9 years old, you don't need your
You
hormones
don't
running.
need to be sexy blank anything. No, slutty blank anything. Stop it,
We're
kids.
probably offending somebody on this.
Just put but I think we're not. I think there's a lot of people that share that same thought. They're getting their doorbells rang too, and they're seeing it happen, and they're seeing the costumes on display already at the retailers.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. Louis going to go as a slutty cat.
So there you go. And he won't know because he's just a baby dog. And even if he was a grown-up terrier, he wouldn't know. Either. You know why? Because he's a dog. I affectionately call Rusty and Norty. I should say it in this order: Norton and Rusty, Norty and Rusty. Dumb Dummy number 1 and Dumb Dummy number 2.
So my wife calls me.
And see, you know what I'm getting at. And, it's DD1, DD2, Dumb Dummy number 1, Dumb Dummy number 2. And Lori and I were out talking a little bit on the front stoop just yesterday. And I don't know what occurred to her, but, Rusty barked because somebody was walking a dog by, and I just yelled out, quiet up there, Dumb Dummy. And she was like, don't call him that. And I said, I'm sorry, honey, but do remember, he doesn't speak English. We're just fine.
He has feelings.
He has feelings. I think she was the one that had feelings in that moment. She, just felt bad for the dog.
At least you didn't drive 22 hours to an Amish puppy mill.
Actually, yeah, indeed. Actually, you know what I think is bugging her? Because I do, use the dummy phrase often enough. Now, instead of just Rusty, if I say, hey, dummy, he turns his head, and I think that's what's bugging her. I think that's what's bugging her.
You know what's funny?
So, I'll take the heat for that, honey.
Our dog, which we put down last year, got to the point I called him Dork. Just jokingly.
Right.
And all of a sudden he started turning on Dork. I think part of it was his hearing was starting to go at the end. Also, any one syllable word, he would just turn his...
Dork.
So you could say the word beer, and he'd turn and look at you.
Right.
But it was hilarious. I wanted to name this dog Dork.
This new dog,
Yeah,
Louie.
because
he's not Buffett. No, sadly. He's Louie.
Actually, he was almost Jimmy.
Really? Ooh, that's close.
Oh, it was close.
I like that.
But I'm like going, he's the dumb one out of the run, and he's the ADHD one. So I want to call him Dork, but it's not working. But Louie's a good guy, and we'll have plenty of Louie stories as he's growing up.
Yeah, he's a cute dog. Yeah, the pictures you've shown on social media and stuff. He's a very cute dog.
Looks just like me, doesn't he?
Indeed. Got the little pug nose going
his little tongue hanging out.
Little tongue hanging out. Oh, beer. Do you have any of those pictures posted at the Mortgages and BS Facebook page?
I don't think I do. And I probably should put some out there, too, because that's kind of, now we switched my site down a little bit.
I think you should.
Also, it's on my personal site, but I should. Cause
it's about home stuff and family stuff.
He's a character. I
mean, he really is. He's a cute dog.
And, on that page, I mean, I don't just post about mortgage. I was posting stuff about grilling. I post things that have to do with homes, that have to do with life, with summer. We never know what little tidbit we want. I'm not a Pinterest freak, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, you just do it on the Facebook, and so that's a sort of a pointed place to share some of that stuff. I think we should see some Louie, not Jimmy, not Buffett pictures there.
All right.
It's all right. I like Louie. And when you told via social media that was his name,
you liked it.
I was in. It was all good. If we have time during the course of the show here, want to get into a couple of sport things, Twins baseball, especially a couple of pitchers. One named Glenn, one named Irvin, and then also if we have some time, this is sports crossover time, and we'll just chat about that a little bit on the Mortgages and BS show with Tom and BT here on the Alive and Social Network. Hey, don't forget the Twin Cities Hit Show. Our friends Rusty Gatenby and others, Chuck's there, and a round robin of guests and co-hosts on that show. It's every morning on the Alive and Social Network. They do a special remote broadcast podcast. I said broadcast podcast at the Chart House in Lakeville every Thursday,
which is out my back door.
Exactly.
And we can never get there. They're always gone by the time I want to get there.
So I just wanted to throw some props to them because Tom and I generally put our podcast together on Thursdays, and here it is Thursday, and so they got it going on at the Chart House in Lakeville today. If you're listening to the podcast at all, during the course of this afternoon, then you know that. But also remember, it's every Thursday. So if you got some time, you're in the Southern Metro at all, I would say the dividing line might be that 494, down on the South Quarter. It's just easy to get to from there is what I'm saying.
But, those guys are great. I was on the show one morning with those guys. They're hilarious. But one thing to remember, though, starting next month, one Thursday a month, they're going to want to come to Ansari's.
That's right.
Because who's going to be there?
We will be there.
We will be there.
We will be at Ansari's Mediterranean Grill in Egan. So look forward to some of those remote podcasts with Tom and yours truly, and come join us for those. Let's get into a couple of things business-wise here. Tom Smith, mortgage expert.
Okay, I'll put on my straight face.
Okay, straight face now. Straight face. I'll cough and speak in tones that have more gravitas.
Okay.
The FOMC meeting is always sort of a BFD, and often the results make us say WTF. So the Federal Reserve Board's governing body, that's the FOMC, they get together and they establish money policy, and they don't meet all the time, but they meet, once a month or so? Once every 6 weeks?
Once a month, once every 6 weeks.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes it seems like it's every month, sometimes it seems like it's every 2 months. And it's the Federal Open Market Committee.
Exactly.
And it's all the Federal Reserve chairmen. They get together, they have a little party.
They got like 5 of the governors and 7 of the directors. I mean, it's you can look it up, but it's a cluster of people.
It's a party. It's a party. And
it's a money party.
Janet Yellen gets them all together, and they talk about what's going on in the economy. And as we know, they've set policy for quite some time through this whole deal. They've kept the rates low. And, of course, traders are expecting rates to go up at some point.
Always in sort of an anticipation of what the FOMC may do or may not do, but they're always sort of on the come, kind of waiting for it to happen.
They're trying to guess. And back when Greenspan was governor, it got so bad that when he was walking in, they would look at how the paper was in his briefcase. Because depending upon how the paper was in his briefcase,
really?
they thought that's how they were going to vote.
So like reading tea leaves.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
It's so superstitious.
Are you kidding me? No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
You got your serious
and then
face on
then
right
after
now.
he got married, People thought
to Andrea Mitchell.
they thought if he
of
came in with
NBC
a
News.
smile on his face.
Yeah, you can
I'm dead serious.
Like a little
It's
something,
exactly.
something last night. Ellen's happy.
That's exactly how it got. Janet Yellen, they haven't quite figured her out yet. But so anyway, they meet and they try to dictate what policy is going to be. And let's face it, it's a tough job. I would never want this job of trying to predict what's going on. And they get together and they look at all the data from the last 30 days, whatever it is, and they look behind that, and then they decide, here's what we think, and then they give out this announcement. Well, their last 4 or 5 announcements have been almost identical, except this time there were 5 words, I think it was, that were different in the announcement. That's it, 5 words. And so the bond traders are like, okay, well, maybe they're going to have a September rate hike. Before they were positive there was going to be a September rate hike. Now they're not sure anymore. So now they're going to watch economic.
It's a world of weird speculation here.
And it's all tied to what it all comes back to is housing. It really does. Is because housing drives the market. Let's face it. Construction materials.
Sure.
Furnishings for a home. All that type of stuff drives the economy. It also drives employment.
And then all the people that do those things, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So unemployment right now, it's better, but part of what they say is a lot of people have stopped filing because they can't anymore. Last week we had unemployment filings; they were up again.
Okay.
Now that's not going to mean the unemployment rate's going to go up, but it just means there were people filing for unemployment.
Does that mean that there might be a new round of people that are unemployed that they can qualify? That they're in for the first time.
It could
then maybe
be. It could be. And the only reason I say that to myself, and again I could be wrong. I'm not an economist. Is there are a couple times of the year where you know that hiring is going to go up or hiring is going to go down. Toward the end of the summer, what happens? Hiring goes down. People lose jobs.
Yep.
Beginning of the summer, same thing. Christmas. So you look at those things. Overall, I don't think it's going to affect the economy a lot, but I think what's happening is people are holding on their money. I think unemployment's higher than what they really think because there's a lot of people that aren't having jobs. You talk to people that have money, they're still anybody's being tight. They're looking for the sales. That's why Halloween candy's out. They're trying to drive sales.
Sure they are.
And as a result of that, they're basically saying, no, we're going to hold rates. Now, if you follow me, I've said I don't think rates are going to go up until the spring.
Yep, you've said that several times on the podcast here too.
I really believe that, and the reason I say that is when you're in a 50-foot hole and you still have 40 feet to go, why are we getting excited?
Yeah.
Because yes, even though the economy is growing slowly, it doesn't mean we're in a point that we should get excited and wave the banners and stuff like that. And
mission accomplished.
But what happens then is the bond traders, they get nervous. And I've said this before. Bond traders on Wall Street are out of touch with life and reality. So what happens is they're dealing with all these billions of dollars of bonds. So anytime there's something going on that they think could drive the market in either direction, they react. And any reaction is big because they're dealing with billions of dollars. We're dealing with our paychecks.
They're at the top of the pyramid, the money pyramid. They're like that oculus up at the top of the pyramid, that Masonic eye.
The Masonic, they all knowing. But here's the deal: even if the Federal Reserve were to raise the interest rates to 0.5%, that's 0.5%. Come on. Really?
It's a half.
I mean, I've been in the business almost 30 years. Typically, the interest rate's been 4.5.
Yep.
I mean, if it goes to 0.5%, that doesn't mean interest rates have to go up to 12. It just means, they might go up an eighth or a quarter.
Right. It doesn't have to be a huge latitude swing based on 0.5% on the top end.
So everybody's freaked out about that.
Yeah.
And where it really hits things more is variable rate type stuff. People that have credit cards, equity loans, things like that. That's where it's going to hit it more directly. It does hit mortgages directly, or indirectly, I should say. And that's more in the thought process of what's going to happen.
Yeah. Should I or shouldn't I? And am I going to be able to even get into a house at a good rate? Well, rates have gone up. Maybe we should put off buying. And so it fuels another downside of the potential housing market.
I sat and I calculated out the other day, this is my 29th year, 22 years of my career, rates have been 7% or higher. And you know what? People bought houses.
They still bought houses?
They bought houses.
Yep.
Okay. 4 of those years, they were over 10.
People still bought houses.
So you're still going to buy a house regardless of what the interest rate is. It's just that the affordability of it's going to be different. That's why we're like, first-time buyers, get off your butt and get out there.
Yeah. You can do it. You can do it.
You can do it.
And we've busted a lot of these mortgage myths. And if you think you need a big chunk of change and the down payment and stuff, we've talked about that time and again. You don't. There are a lot of programs out there that can help you find that down payment money, and you can often wrap that into your mortgage. It's a separate note, but you wrap it in, and it becomes one big thing. And so, if you don't feel you have enough money to get started on that first home, that first mortgage, think again. Go talk to somebody like Tom or another mortgage expert. But we prefer Tom Smith here at AMEC, of course.
Of course. Well, and you look at it, in most cases now the sellers are paying the closing costs, so that takes some burden down. So all you need is the down payment. And then depending upon the price range of the home, you're typically looking if it's a VA 0 down or maybe 3 to 3.5% down on a starter home. That's not a whole lot of money.
That's right.
And if you fit into the guidelines for the bond programs, you can get almost that much money out of the bond program assistance programs for your down payment. So you're getting into a house for $1,000 or less.
Yep, indeed. And if you think that it might make your overall mortgage payment per month a little bit more, it might, because you're not putting more down than you might be able to, or you're thinking you need to wait for. But that being said, look at it from this perspective. The amount that mortgage is might be the same amount, as what you're paying in rent right now, and that additional amount that you're setting aside to try to get to that down payment point. Well, it's cash is cash. If you're going to go into this with a 3% down payment, let's just use that as an example on an $100,000, $200,000 home. I'm just talking out loud here. And right now you're paying $1,600 a month in rent, and you want to get into that first home, and you're setting aside $300 a month to put into a savings account to make that down payment happen. How about you do this? You might be able to find, all this being said, 3%, you got the house you like, so it's a $1,900 a month mortgage payment. It's the same amount you're doing right now.
And the weird part is, and I'm not an accountant, but when you sit down and you talk to an accountant,
and it's less than that because you're going to get the interest deduction on the mortgage.
It actually ends up being less.
Yeah.
So, and in most cases right now, even straight up dollar for dollar, the last 5 first-time home buyers I did, their mortgage payment actually dollar-wise was cheaper than what they were paying for
with the rent. Just the mortgage alone.
And they were getting some pretty nice properties. The big thing is when you're all going out to buy right now is houses are going quick. So the house you see today probably will be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you have to act and react quickly.
Yeah. Well, and the best thing to do is then talk to Tom Smith. You can reach Tom. Give your phone number out there again.
612-386-7672.
And it's omsiguy@gmail.com. That's probably one of the best ways to reach
that
you,
way, or at the website. Yeah,
Yep.
the website always. All the old K-fan guys know the omsi.biz. But if you call me on the phone or text me on the phone, I'm going to get back to you.
Yeah, right on. And just, kind of set a plan. If you're thinking about getting into that home for the first time, you're 28 years old, you're 34 years old, whatever age you might be, you've been renting, you need a plan because, like Tom said, that home that you might be looking at, if you don't have a plan in place, you might not be able to react quickly enough to get in there and get on it and at least make that potential happen because other people are that have a plan in place are going to jump in ahead of the line.
Right, and then the other thing, too, is there are issues or something like that. We can get you set up in a credit program, get a rescore going, get your credit situations up, maybe get you into a savings plan.
A little credit resolution thing if you need it.
We're there to help you get into that house, whether it's today or tomorrow. And we even have programs where we can set you up for home searches and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right on. So, get on it because I love what you just said a second ago. 5 of these first-time home buyers that you've been working with, the rent was more than what the mortgage payment was. And then you look at with the tax savings, if you're carving off another $2,000 at the end of the year in tax savings because of the mortgage interest rate deduction, that amortize that out. That's about $175 a month across 12 months. Well, so it's that much more or less per month.
And the smile, these people, the smiles on the people's faces, what says the whole thing too, because they're just excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We got another couple of minutes, so I want to round it back around again. Reach Tom and get a plan going. Get into that first house, or get into that second house, whatever the case may be. Get a plan in place and be ready to react. This is a weird time of the year. This sort of late July, early August time frame. All the sports are kind of on the radar screen.
I'm starting to make football bets.
I know. Vikings are in minicamp. Baseball, obviously, Packers. Still going on. Packers, exactly. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up because, I'm a dual fan. We've talked about that. But we're in Minneapolis doing the show. But sports crossover time. Already NBA things are things are happening. It's hockey things are happening. Baseball, football. It's all kind of meshing together here.
Well, like we were saying, you've got summer leagues for basketball.
There you go. Right.
You're getting toward the end of the baseball season and the pennant drives. You got mini camps going on for football. We've got Halloween stuff for sale. And we got State Fair coming up.
It's a big vortex of fun and sports, and maybe too much sports. Hey, let's do this next week. Since it'll be the first week in August officially, let's kind of ping in on the state fair world and
Donuts.
Donuts, and just kind of riff on that a little bit. Also, as it's the first week in August next week on our next podcast, we'll kind of dive into some back to school stuff. A little bit about that with what is going on with the kids, and I know this as well. That home ownership, we were talking about this before doing this podcast. Let's save it for next week. Home ownership at a 50-year low right now. That's a pretty sizable, significant percentage of people not
That's
in
what we're
homes.
trying to figure out. Why aren't you buying?
Yeah, indeed. So those topics and more next week. Join us on the mortgages and, apparently a lot of BS. You've heard the show.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a lot of
BS.
BS show. With Tom Smith and yours truly, BT, here on the Alive and Social Network. Tell your friends, too, and share it on Facebook. If you like what you're hearing, you got some pals that are thinking about getting into that first home or whatever, share this information with them. I'm sure they'll appreciate it.
Have a great week.